All right, Alexandra, let's talk about Macron, France, and the rise of Le Pen. We have an interesting article from the Telegraph, I believe it is, where it now looks very possible that Le Pen could be the next president of France, because Macron has, I mean, the guy's just imploded. Every European leader seems to have imploded to me, but some European leaders have managed to stick around and act like, very much taking the form of Teflon. For example, Mark Rutte in the Netherlands. Merkel is still barely hanging around, but she's falling apart. Macron is completely just crumbled, it seems. Nothing's going right for him in France. What's going on?
Absolutely, and now it's starting to be picked up by the press, the media, even in Britain, that Macron is spiralling down fast. And what has provoked me to think this is an article which I see by the indispensable Ambrose Evans-Pritchard in the Telegraph, and the title reads, "Emmanuel Macron has lost his bet and his political head. Deepening health crisis means there is now a real possibility that far-right leader," always note the words far-right leader, but never mind, Marine Le Pen will sweep to victory in the next election. And then Ambrose Evans-Pritchard goes into great detail about why the French economy is looking like it's going to face another crisis this year, that its debt to GDP ratio is going to rise to 120% of GDP. And then he goes on to say that this debt ratio will be even higher when the country finally recovers, punching well through 120% of GDP. This matters because the French structural deficit is the largest of the Eurozone bloc. There is no self-corrective mechanism as the growth cycle revives. The day when rating agencies finally react to this fundamental rot to the public finances is drawing closer. Whether Macron survives this ordeal is an open question. His brand is technocrat competence. Without that, little remains. He faces a credible challenge in the centre ground from Xavier Bertrand, the president of Hauts-de-France, which may split the vote in the first round of next year's election. The rush of events over the last week has abruptly raised the possibility that Marine Le Pen will sweep into power as dynastic leader of the Eurosceptic right. In the meantime, Angela Merkel's Christian Democrats are in free fall. All changed utterly, to misquote W.B. Yeats. The political order in Europe as we know it may soon be over. So that's what the British are starting to sense about Macron, that he's going down and going down fast. The situation in France with the pandemic is bad. The situation with the economy is bad. Debt levels are rising. Macron's popularity is falling. Marine Le Pen's popularity is continuing to rise, and the British are starting to prepare themselves for the possibility that we will have President Le Pen in France next year. That is a radical change.
Yeah, I just still don't understand how Europe thinks they're going to get out of this, how France is going to get out of this, how most countries in Europe are going to get out of this from an economic level. They're already so much in debt. Their debt levels are crazy, 120, 150, 200%. I mean, literally, they're just stratospheric debt levels. I just don't understand how all these countries in Europe think they're going to get out of this. I don't find a way out for Europe to get to some sort of sustainable level unless a lot of countries ditch the euro and get out of this roach motel known as the European Union. I think Le Pen may actually, put that up for debate as president of France. I don't know. I don't see anyone talking about it. I don't see anyone talking about the economic situation in many countries in Europe. They're just all talking about lockdowns. I don't see them looking 2, 3, 4 months ahead. I don't know.
I agree, but I'm going to say Macron actually does have a strategy for how he's going to get out of this mess, or how Europe is going to get out of this mess, and it is, in a word, Eurobonds. He wants to get, in effect, the Germans to pay. That's what Eurobonds is all about. So what he wants is, instead of the European Central Bank printing money and buying all the bonds of all the European states, including the French debt, he wants the Germans to agree to pool EU debt. So that means that France can continue to run its massive structural budget deficit, but that it will be covered by Germany. Now, I think Angela Merkel was always resistant to that idea, but was not entirely, would not entirely have rejected it. But I think the situation in Germany now is that that is all but inconceivable. And you're absolutely right. I don't think Macron has a plan B, because, let's be frank, there is no plan B. I mean, how can there be? What can you do? I mean, you can all default together, I suppose, but that would wreck the the European banking and financial system. So, I mean, I don't think there is a plan B, other than what is actually the plan C, or perhaps one should really call it the correct plan, the plan A, which is to ditch the euro. That all of these countries can start to bring back their own currencies, sort out their debt levels, and that will include a major restructuring, and find currency levels for their currencies which makes their economies competitive again. I mean, it's obvious. It's a no-brainer. But that, of course, is precisely what Macron, Merkel, all of the others refuse to do. And that is why the logic now points clearly to someone who's prepared to think outside the box, which in France can only be Marine Le Pen.
So what happens in 3-4 months to all these economies? What happens to the French economy, 120% debt to GDP? What happens to the Greek economy, which is what, 200%? I don't even know at this point. I forgot at this point. 200, 220 debt to GDP? What happens to Spain, to every country across the board? Even Germany. Well, how is Germany going to pay for everyone's economic hardship in Europe? Are the German people ready to flip the bill? Are they ready to pay for everybody's tab?
No, they're not, and it is unreasonable to expect it. These people who constantly demand it really need to understand something. Germany is one country within the European Union. Yes, historically, it has had well-run public finances, but if it starts paying everybody else's debt, all that will happen is that within a relatively short time, it will import into Germany the major problems, the debt problems that exist everywhere else. You don't solve this situation by creating more debt and expecting that the Germans will bear it. I mean, the Germans cannot bear it indefinitely. Germany is not the United States of the 1950s with that level of economic power. So what will happen? I think there will be a deep recession in parts of Europe this year. I think that's now certain. There already is a recession in Greece. My brother, whom I was talking to, I was in touch with earlier today, said to me that in Greece, people feel increasingly like they're living in an East European country circa 1992, where nothing any longer works, everything is almost unreal, people turn up to work and don't get paid because that's the state in which the economy is in at the moment, and everything is falling apart, and that there is a sort of tailspin. They look at what the leaders are saying, and they no longer take any notice of that, because what the leaders function inside a kind of bubble which is becoming completely disconnected from real life and the real world. And people are saying to themselves, this is no longer relevant to us. The economy is falling apart all around us. We're still, however, trapped in Hotel California. We don't really know how to get out, but that's Greece. some extent that's Italy. France is different. If France says enough, things change. If Germany, of course, says enough, that also changes. And if France and Germany don't say enough and try to keep this thing going endlessly, we will eventually see a collapse, probably fairly soon, because I repeat what I always say, what is unsustainable cannot be sustained. Only that collapse will be massive and systemic in a way that it doesn't have to be. I hope that Ambrose Evans Pritchard is right, and that the French, who are a highly experienced nation, after all, they're one of the great nations of Europe, will have the political vision and the political courage to follow the lead the British have given them, and will finally say, next year, enough is enough. We have to vote. We have to take another course. And if that means voting for Marine Le Pen as president of France, of the French Republic, then so be it.
So, final question. So Lagarde was put in place at the ECB in order to appease the French side of things. Okay, von der Leyen and all these people were put in the EU in order to appease the German side of things. How's Lagarde gonna handle things going forward for France and for Europe? I mean, money, printing more money into the system, because I'm hearing stuff. You're saying the situation in Greece or Cyprus, and you're saying it's bad. But the media, once again, the media is painting a completely different picture. They're painting a picture of prosperity and growth, both in Greece and in Cyprus and other countries in Europe. I mean, the media is saying, this is just going to be a couple of months thing. Summer's right around the corner. Everything's going to start to move into hyperdrive. Money's going to start flowing. And Europe is just going to give us all kinds of loans and grants and structural funds and all kinds of stuff like that. I mean, 300 billion for that, 100 billion for this. I mean, you're hearing just numbers off the chart. How's Lagarde pulling all of this off?
It's the same sort of propaganda, the so-called propaganda of success, which existed in Poland in the run-up to the Solidarność crisis of 1980, when the communist government was saying that everything was wonderful and everything was well, and people living their lives knew otherwise. And it was true also in the last years of the Soviet Union, where again it was exactly the same. People were being told that things were getting better when they could see that they were getting worse. And I'm just going to read an extract of an email from someone I know in Greece, which I got this morning by coincidence, and it says this: the EU has not sent money this year. This person works for an organisation that's funded by the EU, and I expect not to be paid for this month either, making that 3 months. I hope to get paid in July. Greece is starting to resemble an East European country and the ex-USSR in the 1990s. We are living in a B-movie. I get up and go to work and wonder if what is going on around me is reality. So that shows you the degree of disconnect that there is between the lives that people are actually living and what their political leaders, the Lagardes, the Ursula von der Leyens, the Macrons, the Merkels, all those sort of people who live in their bubble, the disconnect between real people who are living real lives and what their leaders are saying. What one talks about things, we're living in this great golden age, we're going to have all these tremendous projects and plans, we're going to achieve this enormous growth, and the reality that other people experience is that their lives not just worse, but getting worse dramatically and all the time.
Yeah, but very quickly, I mean, the solution for Lagarde is going to be much of the U.S.'s solution as well, just pumping more money into the system?
Well, absolutely. I mean, this is a bit the fundamental difference because last year the US had a government and it had economic plans and it had all kinds of things, and things as we said on this channel started to improve towards the end of last year, and there is still some momentum of that in the economy. But what we're seeing again in the United States is a massive over-the-top spending program coming on top of the massive monetary easing. In the EU, we're not even going to get that. We still have Lagarde printing money like there is no tomorrow. The EU can't get its fiscal house in order, because how can it when it's up to its ears in debt and can't really find a way round to do that, and it isn't even a real country. And at the same time, the situation generally is getting worse by the day, because they haven't handled the pandemic properly. Ambrose Evans Pritchard, in that article that I spoke about, gives all the numbers, and all you have to do is check them out, and you can see where this is all going, and it's going nowhere well.
All right, we'll leave it there. All right, Alexander Rickers, thank you very much, guys. Go to the Duran shop, pick up some merch. Pick up some merch right there. Magic mugs, hoodies, all kinds of great stuff.
Australia, that's an Australian flag on our mug, and you see all the great T-shirts we have, and our hats, and our hoodies, and our sweatshirts on our shop. And look us up on our other platforms, BitChute, Library, Rumble, and especially Odyssey. And if you can, check out our Discord server, our various channels, and also, if you can, support us through PayPal, Patreon, and Subscribestar. And please remember to check your subscription both to this channel and to our other channels too.
Yes, and also go to Affirm, the website there for one of our video sponsors, Affirm Products, Duran 10. You get a 10% discount on all health and lifestyle products from Affirm. Really, really great products.
Absolutely.
Alexander has a couple.
Absolutely. I have a couple. I now use them regularly, by the way, and they've made a marked difference to my state of well-being. And can I just say, if people wonder how we're able to keep going and produce all these videos and do all this enormous analysis, well, obviously drinking tea from our famous magic cups, mugs helps tremendously, but so does using these products, which are superb. They are absolutely phenomenal and wonderful, and I cannot recommend them too strongly, as, by the way, does my doctor.
All right. Alexander Rickers, thank you very much. Till next time, everybody, take care.